Hello, we're excited to show you our native speech capabilities.
where you can direct a voice, create realistic dialogue, and so much more. Edit these placeholders to get started.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our crypto podcast. I'm Ali.
And I'm Ahmed. Today, we're taking a deeper look at Bitcoin's performance over the last 7 days, analyzing the technicals, sentiment, and what could happen next.
Exactly. This week was interesting because while we didn't see a massive breakout, the market showed some important signals that traders and long-term investors should definitely pay attention to.
So, Ali, if we start with a big picture, how would you describe Bitcoin's behavior over the past week?
I'd describe it as a period of controlled movement. We saw moderate volatility, but the overall structure still looks slightly bullish. The market isn't collapsing, and at the same time, it's not aggressively pushing higher. That tells me we're in a consolidation phase.
Right, and consolidation is often misunderstood. Some people think sideways movement is weakness, but in many cases, it actually builds the base for the next major move.
Exactly. It's like the market is catching its breath. Buyers and sellers are both active, but neither side has full control yet.
Let's talk about price action. One thing I noticed is that every dip during the week was quickly bought. There was no extended selling pressure.
That's a key point. Dip buying behavior shows that there's still strong demand under the market. Whenever price moved lower, buyers stepped in fairly quickly.
However, on the upside, we also saw repeated rejections. Every time Bitcoin tried to move higher, it struggled to hold above those levels.
And that tells us sellers are still active near resistance. So what we have right now is a classic range. Buyers defending the downside, sellers defending the upside.
From a technical standpoint, Bitcoin has been trading close to its short-term moving averages. What does that signal to you?
When price stays near moving averages, it usually indicates balance in the market. There's no strong trend in either direction, but the fact that we're not trading far below them keeps the outlook neutral to mildly bullish.
And the RSI?
RSI stayed mostly between 45 and 60 throughout the week. That's important because it shows the market is neither overbought nor oversold. In other words, there's still room for a move in either direction.
So, technically speaking, we're stuck in a range, but it's a healthy range.
Exactly. And what makes it even more interesting is that support has been respected multiple times. Each time price tested the lower area, buyers stepped in.
Let's talk about support and resistance in more practical terms. How should traders be looking at the zone?
Right now, support is acting like a floor. As long as Bitcoin holds above that area, the structure remains intact. Resistance, on the other hand, is the ceiling. We've had multiple rejections there, which is why we haven't seen a breakout yet.
So basically, the next major move depends on which side breaks first.
Exactly. A clean break above resistance with strong volume could trigger a wave of momentum buying. On the flip side, if support fails, we could see a deeper pullback before buyers step in again.
Volume this week was interesting as well. It wasn't dead, but it wasn't explosive either.
Right. Volume was average to slightly lower, which tells us that large institutional players are still waiting. They don't want to commit heavily until they see a confirmed direction.
That's important for retail traders to understand. Low to moderate volume during consolidation usually means the big money is waiting for confirmation.
And once that confirmation comes, that's when we often see sharp moves, either up or down.
How would you describe overall sentiment right now?
I'd call it cautiously optimistic. Long-term holders are still confident in Bitcoin's future. They're not rushing to sell, but short-term traders are being more careful, managing risk and waiting for clearer signals.
So no panic, but also no euphoria.
Exactly. And that kind of emotional balance is often seen before significant moves.
Let's move to fundamentals. Institutional interest remains one of the biggest long-term drivers for Bitcoin.
Yes, ETFs and institutional participation continue to support the broader bullish narrative. These are not short-term speculators. They're looking at Bitcoin as a long-term asset class.
But macroeconomic factors are also playing a role.
Absolutely. Interest rate expectations, inflation data, and global economic uncertainty are making investors cautious across all markets, not just crypto. That's another reason why Bitcoin hasn't made a decisive move yet.
On-chain data, however, suggests that investors are not in panic mode.
Correct. Holding behavior remains strong. That tells us people are not rushing to exit their positions, which is a positive sign for the broader market.
Let's break down possible scenarios for the next week.
First, the bullish scenario. If Bitcoin breaks above resistance with strong volume, we could see a short-term rally. Momentum traders would jump in, and that could push price higher quickly.
Second, the bearish scenario.
If support fails, we could see a temporary pullback, but based on current demand, I'd expect buyers to step in again at lower levels.
And the third scenario, the one we're already seeing.
Continued sideways movement. This is actually the most likely outcome unless a major catalyst enters the market.
So basically, Bitcoin is waiting for a trigger.
Exactly. The structure isn't broken, but it's also not ready to explode yet.
For traders listening to this podcast, what would you suggest during this kind of market?
Risk management is key. In a range-bound market, overtrading can be dangerous. It's better to wait for clear confirmations rather than chasing every small move.
And for long-term investors?
Long-term investors can view this consolidation as a normal part of the market cycle. If your outlook is bullish on Bitcoin's future, these periods are more about patience than action.
To summarize, Bitcoin's last 7 days have been a phase of healthy consolidation.
The medium to long-term trend remains bullish, but short-term price direction will depend on whether we see a strong breakout above resistance or a breakdown below support.
Either way, the market is setting up for a meaningful move.
That brings us to the end of today's episode. If you found this discussion helpful, make sure to follow the podcast for more in-depth crypto analysis.
Thanks for listening, and we'll be back with more updates on Bitcoin and the broader crypto market.
This was Ali. Stay informed, stay ahead in crypto. See you next time.